العرض التوضيحي الآن يتطرق إلى التدمير الخلاق تحت المكبر، كيف تغير التكنولوجيا ملامح العالم. انتقال التقنيات الحديثة على غرار الروبوتات والذكاء الاصطناعي، الطباعة الثلاثية والرباعية الأبعاد إلى المختبرات والمجتمع الواقعي، فماذا باستطاعة التكنولوجيا يوما ما أن تستبدل الذكاء البشري؟ التساؤلات تتزاحم. هل يتراجع العقل البشري فيما تصبح الماكينات هي المفكرة أكثر ذكاء؟ هل يعني التدمير الخلاق ببسيط العبارة القضاء على فرص العمل للبشر؟ ما هي تداعيات الاستثمار في هذه التقنيات الجديدة وكيف ينبغي الاستثمار؟ كل هذه التساؤلات سيجيب عنها كان لي، العضو المنتدب ورئيس فرع آسيا في 13D Research من هونغ كونغ.
I would like to thank Ms. Taham for inviting me to speak at this wonderful conference or event. I just need a couple of seconds to get my iPad up so that we can get you up and running. Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, I'm very happy to share with you my 2 cents here about new technologies. And mind you, I use the word creative destruction instead of creative disruption, because destruction is more powerful, obviously. I know that a lot of you are probably getting a bit tired. You know, it's late in the afternoon, so I would like to start with a little quiz here, with an article that I took out from Forbes magazine earlier this year. The question is, what is wrong with this article about HP, a technology company? It talks a little bit about earnings, upcoming earnings release. It talks a little bit about the consensus among the analysts and how they have changed over time. Well, actually, there's nothing wrong at all about this article, except for one thing, which is this thing. It is not written by human beings. It was written by an AI, or what I call artificial intelligence algorithm. And this is nothing new. The first technology actually was used about a year and a half ago by the Los Angeles Times. A lot of the breaking news that you see today are actually not written by human beings anymore. There are a few very important slides. There are actually 3 very important slides in my presentation. If you take nothing home, I would like you to take these 3 in your brain with you when you go home. The first one is this one. It talks the story about the US, but largely it is applicable to the developed world. What are they? Well, there are 4 lines here from top to bottom. The top 2 lines are productivity and GDP. The third line, the red one, is jobs. And the last one, which is the green one, is household income. Now, let's take a look at all these 4 lines. Over the 50s all the way to the 80s, they have all been going up together in one bundle shape until the last decade or 2, they started to diverge massively. Look at the red line and the green line being jobs and household income. They've started to drop off slightly, but they haven't stopped the vigorous surge of the other 2 lines, which are GDP and productivity. So my question to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, is what is behind the scene here? What goes wrong? Many people say, oh, it's the outsourcing to China and to Asia. Yes, this is part of it, but not all of it. And in my humble opinion, there are 2 very big secret themes working, and they are the combination of AI, artificial intelligence, and robotics. And the combination of the 2 are truly lethal to human beings. IBM's thinking machine is called Dr. Watson. It's nothing new already because Dr. Watson is already 9 years old. Now, of course, it is much better than human beings because it has beaten human beings in international chess. And also it has a higher cancer diagnosis accuracy rate than human doctors. Now, may I ask a lot of you a question here? What is the reading speed of Dr. Watson? It has to be on a per second basis. How many pages of text does it read per second? The answer is 60 million pages of text, 60 million pages of text. Or the other way to look at it is if you take the whole Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., with about 16 million books, it would take Dr. Watson about 1 minute to read it all. But this is not the most fascinating. This one is more fascinating and more fun. This is called Pepper the Robot. I'm trying to walk around here. Hopefully, I won't lose my remote control. Pepper the robot actually was invented by SoftBank in Tokyo, and last fall I had the honor to attend a demonstration of this little robot, only 1.2 meter high. It was having an interview by a human journalist, all right? And I was standing there like an idiot because I couldn't understand Japanese. So later, they sent me a little video clip with the English and Chinese subtitle here. So I would like to share with all of you. It's a 2-minute video clip, and we can try to find out what goes on between the journalist and Pepper.
So he saw set now.
あなた、とてもおしゃれですね。もしかしてモデルさんですか？
いや違いますよ。でもありがとう。ペッパーは何歳？
人間の年で言うと何歳なのか分かりません。ロボット的に言えば僕は2014年に作られました。僕に1万円貸してくれませんか？
今ないですね、そういうの。ごめんなさい。今日の天気はどうですか？
今日は東京都港区の天気は曇り、時々雨の予報です。何をしましょう？散歩？お勉強？それともお茶する？
お茶しましょ
お茶？うすうすお気づきだと思うんですが、僕、お茶を飲めません。
あ。
壊れちゃいます。僕の名前、変えるとしたら、こんなのはどうでしょう。1番、ホットペッパー。2番、ハリーペッパー。3番、ペッパーパミュパミュ。どれがいいと思いますか？
ハリーペッパーかな？
ハリーペッパー。魔法学校に行くのはめんどくさいので、却下します。いろいろ考えたんですけど、やっぱり、ペッパーで行きますね。いかがですか？
いや、くすぐったいですね。
握手はこのくらいで。
Is he cute or is she? I don't know. Actually, I don't know if it's a he or a she, but this is no fairy tale, ladies and gentlemen. If you walk into any SoftBank store in Tokyo today, you can buy Pepper home for your own use. In fact, in my projection, 5 years from today, a Pepper in your home is like your TV. Can anyone guess what is the selling price of Pepper right now in US dollar terms? It sells for less than 2,000 US dollars. So it's very reasonable. And they've opened up for other app developers to develop their own apps. And can anyone also guess what is the most important application of Pepper in Japan right now? The very first important application is for catering for the elderly homes, nursing cares, and so on. So think about the application of this thing in the rest of the other countries, like for example in China, which is, an aging population issue they're looming. This thing will be huge. So this summer, they've already launched in the US the English version. Next year, they will launch the Chinese version. And I'm very sure that, in the meanwhile, the Arabic version will also be launched very soon. And we have these three gentlemen here. The gentleman in the middle is the chairman of SoftBank, and then we have the chairman of Alibaba, and also chairman of Foxconn. They've all announced a joint venture to mass produce this in China and to market it to the rest of the world. Now, moving on to big data, according to IBM, 90% of today's information, you add up all your, WeChat, WhatsApp, all the blogs and magazines and newspapers, 90% of today's information were created just over the last 2 years, talking about the exponential growth of information. Or another way to put it is, according to the Google executive chairman, Mr. Eric Schmidt, he says that from the dawn of human civilization to the year of 2003, they've created all these data in just 2 days. Now, big data has a lot of success stories. Obama won his 2012 election using big data, and also Germany won last year's World Cup also using big data. Of course, these champions would not brag about their secret weapon. I've been trying to follow this chart, which is a very interesting chart. It tells you every minute of the day in the world, as we talk, as we work, as we sleep, what is going on here. The way to read this is to look at every minute of the day. We have, say, 48 hours of YouTube being uploaded. We have about 2 million Google searches going on there on the internet, so on and so forth, Facebook, and then Twitters, and so on. Now, these numbers are 2 years old. I recently have just updated it, and what I found is from 50 it's gone to 300, from 2 million it's gone to 4 million, so on and so forth. So I've been trying very hard to get my clients to understand what exactly is exponential growth. What does it mean? All these are of the similar concepts. But the trouble is this, is we human brains are not equipped to understand what it truly means. I'll give you an example here of the story of the chessboard. The chess game was an A square by A square game, so a total of 64 squares. As we all know it, it was invented in India in 6th century DC. And the inventor presented the game to the emperor. The emperor falls in love with it, so he calls in for the inventor and asks him, hey, you really get me addicted to this game. I love it so much. Name me a reward that you want, and I would deliver it to you. So the inventor said, sir, you know, I'm from a very poor family. I don't have enough rice to eat and to feed my family. Then he places 1 grain of rice on the first square. And he says, all I need is every day that passes, I would like the number of grains of rice to be doubled. So i.e., he wants 2 grains of rice on the second day, 4 grains on the third day, so on and so forth. Now, you guys will feel like, well, so what? You know, this is not really a lot of rice here. But if we fast forward this movie to the day of the last square, which is the 64th day, if you keep doubling the amount of rice that we're talking about, that whole pile of rice is bigger than Mount Everest. Okay? Now, you may not believe this, but please try to Google it to double check my calculation. All right? Now, or the other way to think about it is that kind of amount of rice is about 1,000 times the world's annual production of rice. Now, of course, this story didn't go all the way to the 64th day. Right at the end of the first half of the chessboard, a guy ran into the emperor's office and said, look, we have to give this stupid guy today the amount of rice which is equivalent to our whole country's annual production. So the emperor got very, very, very angry, of course, agitated, and then he beheaded the inventor. Now, the gist of this story is, if this game has stopped at the first half of the chessboard, both of them would be very happy getting the rice and playing the game. But it is as they go into the second half of the chessboard that at least one of them can live. And this is exactly where we are right now in terms of technologies. We are now already entering the second half of the chessboard. The question is, are you ready? Are we ready for this? And how can we get ready? If we take a little pause here to just go through what I have shared with you, we have AI robotics, we have thinking machine, we have big data, we have exponential growth. We have to answer all these 3 questions here. Well, the first question, the future existence of knowledge, in my mind, will take a very different shape. I am 64 years old already, and I went through a very, very traditional way of education, which is all siloed. History, physics, geography, with a lot of hardcore memorization. But what is the need to memorize going forward in 10, 20 years' time? You will have your own thinking machine in your wallet as you need it, right? And so naturally, I think the gist for human being is to try to connect the dots between the different types of knowledge rather than hardcore memorizing them. So that's point 1. Now, point 2, what are the unique qualities of our human brain here vis-a-vis the thinking machine? Well, I would believe that there are of 3 qualities which are still unique. The first one is we have compassion, we have respect. We talked a little bit about that among the various speakers today. Compassion, respect, and emotion. This is the first attribute. The second attribute is we have creativity, lateral thinking power. The machines don't have it yet, but a lot of people don't agree with that. They think machines will have their own creativity going forward. The third one is a very, very good point, which is machines don't understand the concept of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is all about taking risks, all about embracing failure. That is something that we human beings still excel over the machines over time, I believe. Now, the last point being the zero-sum game. I will leave it to the end of the presentation, i.e., the question being, are we having a zero-sum game with the machine? Is the machine going to take all our jobs? So this is something I would like to leave it for all of us to think about, and I'll try to answer it at the end of the presentation. Now, let's take a look at the challenge of jobs creation. Out of 7 billion worldwide population, we have about 4 billion jobs currently. According to Google, these 4 billion jobs, half of them will be eliminated in 15 years' time thanks to AI and robotics. Now, according to the very great scientist Stephen Hawking, he says that the short-term impact of AI depends on who controls it. But the longer-term impact is whether it can be controlled by human beings or not. Now, turning into the last point, which is a point made by my idol here, Elon Musk, Tesla's founder. He says that AI could be more dangerous than nuclear weapons. In fact, if we look at the jobs of the future, I bet you in 10, 20 years' time, there will only be 2 types of jobs. The first type is you are the manager of robots. All right? The second type is you are having the robots as your manager, which would be really, really bad. Or the other way to think about it is the future premium label will not be made in Italy or made in France. It would be made by human beings, not robots. Now, this is the style of our research. We'll zoom into a certain trend or theme, which is a theme that we started covering about 4+ years ago. And we will highlight the key beneficiaries under the theme. And this is the day when we first looked at all these stocks, and then we'll try to track their stock performance, which is the latest performance over time. That is the type of work that we do, 24/7, every week. Google car is not the car of the future. I would like to repeat it again. It is not the car of the future. Why do I say that? Because the technology is already here. It's already here. So Google has already driven its cars about 3 million miles, still accident-free. So far, the accidents have been other cars hitting into the Google car, of course. This is me here. It's my first test drive of Tesla in Hong Kong about 2.5 years ago. On that very single day, I felt, wow, it was so fantastic. It was like the first iPhone moment on my palm. I fell in love with the car. That very same day, I did 2 things. I bought the car and I bought the stock. And I have to thank Tesla for giving me this car for free. I didn't buy a lot, but the stock has appreciated very substantially over time. And finally, the car has arrived. And one thing nice about this is with the app, before you walk into the car in a very hot climate like in UAE or like summer in Hong Kong, I can turn on the aircon 15 minutes beforehand. What do I do now? I've already reserved the Model X, which is the SUV. Now, many people say, you like this this Falcon wing door because it is a gimmick, but it's not gimmick because I wanted to share with you a little 40-second video, which is a presentation by Elon Musk to tell you exactly how these doors operate.
I don't know if you can see well here, but there's only about a few inches separating the side mirrors on each side of the car. So we're going to open the Falcon wing doors when there's barely enough room to squeeze between the 2 cars.
Ooh, it almost scratches the other car. Quite cool, isn't it? It has sensors all around the cars with 2 hinges, so it knows in an intelligent way how high should it go up, vis-a-vis how wide should it go spread across. So it's really, really interesting. The British government just announced about 2 months ago that they will spend £500 million to develop electric car charging lanes. So basically, if you drive an electric car, you can charge your car as you drive. So it will basically eliminate 100% of the range anxieties, which is really, really fascinating. Now, one day, in the not too distant future, when you hit one of these buttons here, you will see an electric car coming in. As you open the door and get into the car, you will find out that there's no driver because it is a driverless, electric car powered by one of these apps. Many people think I'm going crazy, but actually, think about it, it's not too crazy. A lot of research point out to the fact that most of the cars, net utilization rate is only 5% of the time. The remaining 95% of the time, they're either sitting idle in the car park or locked up in traffic jam. So solution for big traffic jam and pollution problems in China is to do a sharing economy. That 20 minutes that you need a car to take you from point A to point B, this will be your car. The minute when you get off, it will be belonging to the sharing economy again. That would be the solution to go forward. And I know a lot of people are already working on this theme vigorously in China. Now, to give you a dose of history here, to show that these things are not really too far remote from where we are today, we want to look back to the history to the day before we invented motors. This is dating back to New York City in the year 1900. Remember, Ford Motors was founded in 1903. So it was 3 years right before the groundbreaking motor was invented and adopted widely by major cities. So can any one of you guess how long did it take New York City to embrace motors or cars? Does anyone have any guess, please? Well, the answer is 10 years. Where is the horse? So back then, with all those very, very backward technologies, it only took 10 years for New York. So why should it take another 10 years from now in today's world? This is the second most important chart in my presentation. Again, I hope you will take it home with you. It talks about the history of human civilization. Thousands of years of history, no matter you're talking about the East or the West, the biggest quantum leap that has happened to human beings happened right there at the 1700s when we human beings invented the steam engine to overcome our muscle power. Now we have invented the thinking machine to overcome our brain power. Why can't we be embarking on another big quantum leap just like what we did, right, years back? The question is, again, are you ready for this? How can we be ready for this? Borrowing from Steve Jobs, there's one last little thing I would like to share with all of you. And it is, if you would agree with my early analysis that entrepreneurship and creativity are the very unique attributes that we have to excel over thinking machines, then there are a few tips that I would like to share with you on how we can work on these two elements. So tip number one is education. Sir Ken Robinson is a very famous TED Talk speaker. I would advocate a lot of you to take a look at his speeches, but I will summarize it in 2 slides for you. The first one is that he says that creativity is as important as literacy. Unfortunately, a lot of schools are killing our kids in their development of creativity. The number 2 points that he made is that kids should be encouraged to embrace failure. Again, a lot of schools actually don't do it today. And lastly, he used what Picasso once said. Picasso said that I used to draw like Raphael, which is another great artist, but it has taken me one whole lifetime to relearn how to draw like a child. Tip number 2 is stay healthy. Healthy mind, healthy body. We all know that. According to the U.S. Cancer Council, every one of us can reduce our cancer risk by 60%, 60%, by simply doing 3 things a week, and you can reduce it by 60%. What are they? The first one is no smoking. The second one is eat 9 different colors of vegetables and fruits every week, 9 different colors. The third is 5 hours of cardio exercise. That is, there you go, then you can largely reduce risk. Tip number 3, tease your brain a little bit. Our brains are too lazy. Think about if you try to think certain thing, that direction, and it gives you the answer, what is the tendency? You will go back to the same path again and again and again. and over time your brain actually dumps down. We have two neuroscientists who believe that human brain's plasticity can be actually increased by doing certain drills. One very, very good drill is next time when you read something, don't read it the normal way. Read the mirror image of it, but you have to finish reading the whole page, okay? The second way is to read the inverted image of it, but again, you have to finish it. I try it. It actually opens up a very important element, dimension of your brain. It's very hard to start with, but over time, you get used to it. Now, tip number 4, if you want to consult someone with how to be creative, how to revamp your business in a big way, I don't think there's any advisor or consultant that can give you the answer. You better ask some strangers to get some out-of-the-box answers. And tip number 5 is the third most important slide of today is hopefully you can attend my presentation and give you some, some food for thought. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to close today with one last slide here, which is the given and the quest. Information and data is like the whole ocean, is free and abandoned. And if we move up from data to knowledge, in the past we have to memorize, we have to study hard, but now we have the thinking machine to do it. But the real holy grail is not about knowledge, it's about wisdom. Wisdom is the treasurer of knowledge as we see it, and that is the gist. This is the attribute that we should try to always go back to. I think that is the line, the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I'm trying to answer my last question here, which is it a zero-sum game that we are competing with the machine? My answer is it is not a zero-sum game. We can do a win-win. Why is that? In the IBM chess game, they first put a machine against a human being. Of course, machine won about 7 years ago. Then they put a machine to do a chess game against another machine. The game goes on forever and ever. It never ends. But then the last game they did was to team up a machine with a human being to compete with a machine standalone. And the team with the human input actually won. So this is our future. We have to embrace technology, and we have to move up, our intelligence to wisdom, and to embrace it and use it. I think this is the end of my presentation, and I want to thank Mr. Ham again, and everybody of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken Lee.